So, in our last segment, in the 2012 statement, we were talking about some of the practical aspects of 2012. Um, I personally believe that 2012 is a date that is important, but it's more a period of time that the human race is going through. And not just the human race, there's the whole planet and solar system are going through a process. And it really should be a surprise to anybody, really, that great transformations happen on our planet. We have evidence, we have scientific knowledge of tremendous changes on Earth. We have stories from past cultures. We have what we can see. We have ancient ruins, and we find things under the ocean, old cities. So, obviously, things happen. Now, the question is, now we live in these amazing times, and transformation is occurring, obviously before our eyes. So, what do we? How do you respond? Is there some meaning to be received out of it when life, your life that you're given, you're just born into circumstances, and here you are, and you have a shape of a body, and you have a gender in certain towns or whatever, and then transformation is happening. Well, transformation is happening every day in our life. We don't often pay attention to it, or it could happen. I mean, one day can change a whole life in a microcosm. So, on a large scale, a decade can change stuff. And so, we have to realize that. And think of it. In addition, people pray. Don't people pray for change? Don't people want something to happen? So, it shouldn't be any surprise that occasionally on Earth, massive change happens within a very short space of time. And what does that mean? Well, people have to adjust. I mean, the laws of physics, there's things you got to do. So that presents us with the question, well, what are we going to do with our moments, the moments of our life that are so, precious, so beautiful, but so transient at the same time? So if people, knowing the facts, like Buddha says, life is difficult and everything you can see is transient and so on, then that being the case, then um, what approach should we use to live? And maybe we can rejoice in transformation and change. And if you people are hungry and thirsty for a major change on the planet because we're destroying ourselves or whatever, so well, maybe nature cooperates a little bit in the process. It says, okay, well, maybe just chill out, people. Maybe you should start using horses again, or growing your own food, and you actually end up being happier. And that's the thing that we have to understand. That maybe, first of all, the fear of dying because of some catastrophe. Well, sooner or later you're going to die anyway. That's something we need to learn when we're very young. So if we understand that the very day you die, I guess you could say that's a catastrophe. Catastrophe doesn't matter like how it happens, really. In many cases, when people die, the people left behind are the ones that feel the most sorrow. And there's a saying in India that when you're born, you cry, and the people around, they're all happy and they're welcoming you and everything. But do something, do such a thing in your life that when you die, you're the one that's laughing and they're the one that's crying. And to try to do something in this life is really just about being conscious, being paying attention to what's going on, and that's where the interesting focus that many cultures have had on time and precision. Well, why are you so interested in time? Well, because precision, things can happen. If you put, um, if you have time, you can accomplish things. And there are times when it's easier, and there's times when there's times when the weather's favorable, and then there's times when it's not. So that's why people pay attention to time. Now, I think the whole mass consciousness or group consciousness aspect of 2012 is that there's a desire for transformation. There's an intuitive understanding, first of all, that we need it, and that it happens anyway, no matter what. We can't do much about it. So, I mean, if the sun's going to have a solar flare, how are we going to do something about it? Um, and it's kind of a funny thing. I was watching this show about some rock slides that happened out in one of the western state parks in the United States. And there's this huge natural rock slide that all of a sudden killed a few people, and then there's people who say, well, they want the agency to say, well, what are you going to do about those rock slides? Well, like, okay, well, what are you going to do about that sun? It's a little hot today. It's sort of the mentality of like, well, excuse me, but let's arrange it the way we want. But that's not how it works. It's actually, we are the little ants on the back of the big cow, the Mother Earth. We're sitting there, and whatever Mother Earth does, that's what we're going to go along with. And the thing is, be conscious, be prepared, live simply, live efficiently, cooperate with people. People can't. Everybody cannot be, unlike the shows that portray. If you're a real man, you can do everything, and you're Superman, and you know everything, you can do everything. But that's not really how it is. You have to cooperate with people and form a network, and the community. It's going to happen one way or another. And the cultures that survived for many thousands of years actually were, interestingly enough, it was the hunter gatherers. Man, they lasted a really long time. They didn't, somehow they managed. They were using these little stone tools and hunting. Apparently there was a lot of game because they wouldn't have survived that long if they hadn't been able to find food. And we're talking about tens of thousands of years. So you start thinking about, well, how long is Western civilization going to last? If you say, let's say it started in, out of the 12, 13, let's give it 700 years or so. 700 years, what's that? It's not very much in the long scale. So if we survive for like another 200 or 300 years at the most, or maybe even only 100, I mean, what does that say about the kind of culture that we have? And maybe there's another way to live that is just as happy and just as fulfilling, but not as many fun toys, or maybe nature's the source of, our entertainment or something. But at the same time, now we can actually have both. And in some way, we can form communities in which we have like a tremendous amount of technology on them, but we don't have excess of it. We have enough to do a lot, and then we also have more time to grow our own crops and have community and discussion and think and read books, and things are slowed down. So I'm going to have a couple of pieces of this. Don't want to make my segments too long, but then we'll end.